Hello, today we are going to learn on how to run an algae growth experiment. For this experiment, the first thing that we need is a source of algae. We have a stock solution of Chlorella vulgaris, which is a very common species of algae. By now, most of you know that algae is a live microorganism and it can be unicellular or multicellular. For growing, algae needs a couple of things. The first is a source of energy, and because it is photosynthetic, it uses light. So we will need a source of light to make sure our algae can grow. The second thing it needs is a source of carbon, and the source of carbon for algae is carbon dioxide, which is available in air. So we want to make sure that our algae culture is aerated so that it has carbon dioxide. The third thing that it needs for growth is nitrogen and phosphorus, which are micronutrients for its growth. So we want to make sure that we have also provided the algae a source of nitrogen and phosphorus to grow. So what I have here is roughly 90 mils of this growth media, which has nitrogen and phosphorus already dissolved. To that, we are going to add 30 mils of our Chlorella vulgaris species. To make sure that the algae has air being supplied, we are going to use one of these readily available aquarium pumps that you can find in pet stores, and this air will start adding carbon dioxide for the algae. In order to make sure there is not a lot of contamination from air entering into this Erlenmeyer flask, we are going to put some cotton gauze on top to make sure that there is no contaminated air flowing into the Erlenmeyer flask. With that, every day we are going to measure absorbance in these jars daily to figure out if the algae is growing correctly. If the algae is growing, then the absorbance will grow up, will keep increasing. The instrument that is used to measure absorbance is known as a spectrophotometer. The spectrophotometer uses small cuvettes or vials into which you will pour your algae solution, and the wavelength at which green light absorbs, which is roughly around 623 nanometers, we will start measuring the absorbance of the algae. The experiment is typically run from 7 to 14 days, and if the algae is growing well, by the end of your experiment, you will have a pretty bright green solution indicating that the algae has been growing well. Once you have collected your absorbance data with time, there are ways to convert your absorbance into milligrams per liter of algae concentration, and this can be done by conducting simultaneous suspended solids measurements. And you will see a video after this on how to measure suspended solids. Once you correlate your absorbance with suspended solids, you can actually draw a plot of algae in milligrams per liter versus time, and from that plot you can actually figure out the growth rate of algae, which is typically denoted by mu. If you know the growth rate of your algae, you can also evaluate or calculate what the doubling time for your algae is. So this is a very simple demonstration on how you can grow algae. Of course, in the lab you have to make sure that you have very clean glassware, nothing is contaminated, and everything is kept clean. You have to wear gloves, goggles, and a lab coat. So I hope this was a simple session for you to learn how to grow algae culture. Thank you.